Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to another Grit and Grime basketball podcast. I'm your host, as always, David Sagoe, with the videographer, more than just a videographer. He's a great man too, Thomas Arnal.
I wasn't sure you were talking about me, but hey, I'll take that. Yes, I am a great videographer. I don't know about the rest. Hello.
The northerner who went soft, stopped shaving his head and started using umbrellas.
I still don't use umbrellas. It's fine.
See, he's still rough. Still rough around the edges. Michael Downey.
All right.
And El Murcielago. He only has extra podcasts on tap. He only revs engines and only rides motorbikes when he's on the podcast. Jose Garcia Vidal. Rev it up.
Hello.
Hola.
So we have another episode, gents. Today we are going to be ranking some randomly selected two guards that I chose for us to rank. My reasoning was I don't know how to separate these guys, and then I added some extra ones who may or may not fit the group, and I asked you to rank them. So we have rankings. I don't know how you did your research, gentlemen, but as well as trying to catch as much gameplay of them as I could the last few weeks, I went and delved into the analytics, and I looked at how they scored in terms of points per possession in isolation, pick and roll, post-ups, spot-ups, handoffs, cuts, and screens. And then I ranked them according to each of those. And then I came up with a list of totals. And then I'm going to use that to make my final list. What did you do, Tom?
I just went with who is my favorite out of all of them. Now, I would go with, I went with the usual. If we had to start a franchise tomorrow, who do I pick first out of all of those guys? Like, this is your limited list of picks. Who do you want to go with first? And then I went all the way down to 7.
Yeah, 7 dudes.
And then I was looking at potential also. It's like I went from the mindset of who would I trust with the ball most right now, and who. I guess we can talk about it a bit later. But like, what position would I get them to play? If it was a 1 or a 2, maybe 3, we don't know.
Well, we never know with you, Tom.
You never know, but one thing is for sure is that Kawhi is a 2.
Mike, how did you work out your list?
Yeah, it's a bit of an eye test for me as well. I do tend to weight playoff success quite heavily in some of this. I don't know. There's some of the guys in that list where, if they're by themselves, I don't know how to rate it a little bit. It's a little bit unproven. So, yeah, I haven't done the deep dive into the analytics, so I'm quite interested to see what your findings are on that, to be honest.
The science, did the knowledge. Yeah. Jose, what was your thinking?
So I based my rankings on the basic stats, like the simple stats, as in points per game, rebounds per game, 3-point percentage, which is such a big thing these days. But I kind of looked at it from a personality and emotional point of view. Who would I rather have in my team that is going to lead me to success? So from kind of like a coach / GM / mentor / assist, like coaching staff point of view as well.
Phil Jackson.
Phil Jackson was the guy that didn't really say much.
Who's the most sagey? Who's the most sage? Cool. Different approaches. I'm sure we'll come up with different lists. So, as I said, I looked at the analytics. So I looked at a range of things. I looked at per 100 possession stats, and then I looked at how they scored in different ways. As far as defense goes, I'm going to add my own personal opinion based on eye test to adjust from the list I'm about to reel off. But as far as how they score, I looked at, as I said, points per possession on different types of play. And this is what it told me. How shall I do this? I'm not going to go through each one. So I looked at ISOs, pick and rolls, post ups, spot ups, handoffs, cuts, and screens. And then I ranked them from 7 to 1 on how good they were in those areas. Some of them didn't actually score in certain areas, which affected the overall outcome quite a fair bit. But if you just go off how efficiently they score in each of those areas, number 1 was Zach LaVine. Based on this season, number 1 was Zach LaVine.
Right.
Number 2 was Devin Booker. Number 3 was Jaylen Brown. Number 4 was Bradley Beal. Number 5 was Murray, but he was actually tied with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who actually didn't score in a bunch of the areas. He didn't score in cuts, he didn't score in handoffs, and he didn't score in post-ups. And I think that's because he's on the ball a lot more than the others. Because he's actually running point for OKC now, whereas last year he was off Chris Paul. And then 5, 6, and that makes Donovan Mitchell 7th. He was the least efficient. He didn't score in post-ups or cuts, interestingly. Not a lot of cuts in the Schneider sets. I guess that kind of tells us who the most versatile scorers are, in a sense, because if you didn't score in certain areas, it wasn't possible to be efficient in them. And LaVine coming up top is interesting to me, actually. He was number 1 in handoff points per possession and number 1 in cuts as well, which is interesting because they don't have like a handling big over there, and they also don't have a point guard. So I'm wondering who's feeding him on all these cuts. But hey, he's tops in efficiency. If you take all the stats into account and you add defense as well, and some eye test things, I think I would probably have I think if I took Tom's approach of who would I most have as a cog, it's probably Devin Booker. I probably bump him up to 1 and drop who was number 1, LaVine, down a little bit, just because he managed to score in every single category. I think he's a better defender than LaVine is. I think he's a better defender as well. Did I say defender? I think he's a better defender than LaVine. So I'd probably take Booker 1, and then go maybe Brown 2 because of the defense, Beal 3. And then it gets difficult. Then it gets real difficult because Mitchell's proven in the playoffs, LaVine isn't. He's also gonna. I don't know. Yeah, it does get dicey after that. Probably, and I don't trust Murray. Mitchell 4, LaVine 5, Murray 6, and Gilgeous-Alexander 7.
Interesting.
Let me write that on the other side just to be clear. Booker, Brown.
I mean, LaVine being that high,
it's interesting, right?
It's wrong to me. It's just wrong. It's just like, I mean, Chicago haven't done anything with him.
Right? You see, Mike. This is why I don't really trust advanced stats in analytics. It just gives you some weird answers.
Well, I think as well. He is like their scorer, right? So they do
Mhm.
rely on him to be able to do those things. Like they rely on him to score in a number of different ways. So I think that it sort of lends itself to his game a bit. And he can get points in bunches, right?
But
I
can't
just
they
I
all?
don't.
Like Beal's
They
leading the
can.
league. Yeah,
They
Booker's
can,
had
but
70 in a game. Like Mitchell and Murray have had 50-point games in the playoffs. They can all get buckets.
yeah, but I think some of the other teams are more focused on winning than just putting up stats. I don't know what Chicago are doing. Like, let's be honest, right?
Yeah,
No one does.
yeah, but I mean they have some good pieces. They have some good young players. They're not talented enough to win more games than they are. Like it's another one of those. I mean, they're winning more games than the Wizards are.
Mm-hmm.
Reason.
Yeah,
And you would put Beal higher, wouldn't you?
Yep.
So why is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen. Funny enough, this season, the team that I've watched the most games is the Bulls. Not because I want to, it's because for some reason they were on TV a lot, on French TV a lot, because the games were always started quite early, being on the East Coast and
sense.
trying to have games. So I think the Bulls still carry that aura in France, yeah, in a weird way. Anyway, so. The way that the Bulls team is playing is actually quite cool. It's not the best team. Obviously, they won't win anything in the next 25 years again. But what they've put in place now is a lot of energy and a lot of ball movement and a lot of a couple new guys that are in there, the rookies, and they're not scared of anything. And it's quite an interesting mix. So I'm not surprised. Then again, they won't amount to much. Unless they keep the same core and they add some really, a few more, a bunch of veterans in there, they'd be all right. But they could make the playoffs, let's say in 2 or 3 years, if they keep those young guys. But then again, with LaVine, you never know, because he seems to be this guy that is just like, give him the ball, he's just gonna chuck it. It's just gonna shoot everything.
I wouldn't say that. He's also
and I'm saying he's the type, like when you look at him, but you don't look at the stats and everything, he looks like it's the same. Like I do the same with my money, like I've got a bit of cash in my pocket, I just got to spend it. It's the same with LaVine. Like he's got a ball in his hand, he's got to shoot it.
But he passes as well. They don't have a traditional point guard. He leads the team in assists.
Yeah, he's what is it, 5 assists a game as well? Like
and per 100 possessions, he's second out of this bunch behind Downey, Gilgeous-Alexander.
But again, that's the image around him. That's how people who follow basketball would know him as. It's like that's how he was portrayed at the start of it. Right?
Why you go to the stats, because
for that reason, yes,
your own inner bias is going to be there whenever you watch someone like that play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all scoring players anyway. They're all scorers first. So,
dude, they're all players that can score 50.
SG and Brown, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily.
Has Brown gone to 50?
He's 26.
No.
Scoring 26 game now. Like.
He's averaging 26. Yeah, he's really stepped up. Efficiency wise with his scoring. And I think that's kind of why I added him to this group, because now he's 100%. Put himself up there with the other scorers in the league, let alone at his position. But
a lot of the other guys on there, thinking of Booker, LaVine, Murray, their primary role on any team that they're on is to score. It's not like they're going to be like, okay, we want you to D up their best guy, or we want you to sort of grab rebounds or anything like that. They are going to be there to score. Whereas I think Brown has more in his bag. I think Mitchell, maybe. And SG, he seems like a more well-rounded player to me. But he's got nothing.
Well, Brown definitely has the defensive side to him, right? He was asked to guard power forwards at times during the playoffs and stuff like that. So that immediately gives him an advantage when you're comparing players. But I look at it kind of in the same way that we compare Kawhi Leonard to Steph Curry, right? Like we know Kawhi's a much better defender, but if we were ranking them, we probably wouldn't rank them that far apart. Even though he has that other side to his game.
Yeah, Brown is scoring as much as he is right now because his team needs it, and he's in a team where they're not selfish. You know, they're not. Even though Tatum is their top player, and Kemba Walker could be a top player anywhere else as well. They're
Kemba
unselfish. Well, I mean, but he's there. You know, he's scoring what 17, 18, maybe 19, 20.
17
So there you go. So you know, so you have Tatum, you have Kemba, and Kemba could step up if needed. He's had injuries as well. So he's in a team where they're very well coached, and you have a non-selfish team, you know, and it works. You know, if it works for them, obviously they still need to win a few more games. But I mean, we're far away from the playoffs. But I think, you know, Brown is a solid player overall, right?
It wouldn't be weird if you were to sort of say to Brown, all right, I want you to run off ball, make screens, and set up Tatum for the next 10 plays. Or,
I think
you're not going to shoot.
Yeah, I think he'd do it.
Yeah.
He's that kind of player.
Yeah. But I think what he's shown this year is that he can be the Tatum to someone else's Brown.
Yeah.
I think that's what he started to show. Like when Tatum's off the floor, he can carry an offense. He started scoring in multiple different ways now. He was the leader in post-up points, for example, only 0.8 per game. But he was really high in terms of efficiency in the league in general. And I think that's an area where we wouldn't normally expect him to be getting his points. I think he was even higher than Booker in terms of actual post-ups per as well. He posts up slightly more than Booker does. And them being the two biggest amongst this group as well, it goes to show that they're taking advantage of their size against other people at their position. But yeah, he's definitely diversified the way that he scores. And with the defense, it's tough not to go for him. I think the only thing that gave me cause to pause is just that he wasn't great in isolation or pick and roll, and I think those are the two big ones as far as scoring from the two position. Bradley Beal was first in both of those, and then this is new. Like this is the first season he's shown this level of scoring versatility and this level of output as well. It's the first time he's been asked to, but it's the first time he's shown it. So it makes it difficult.
Success story right there. You know, like we spoke really well about Austin Rivers, you know, making a name for himself and getting a bigger contract. Same thing here. You know, it's gonna be the same. Good for him.
Austin Rivers, man. He's in the shop window, Tom.
Yeah, he is.
He's on the trade block.
Soon to be out of there. bringing up the big names and big guns. So,
all right, Tom, do you want to tell us your order?
Yeah, should I start from 7th? I feel like I should start from the bottom.
Yeah.
Again, I put SGA at 7, just because he's still pretty new at this, right? And I don't think he's figured out his role. We don't really know. Like I watched one game from the Thunder this year, and I think he's learned a lot from Chris Paul being there at some point.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's just to me he's still a mystery, and he's quite young, so I don't think I'll give him the keys to my team just quite yet. He can chill. Maybe next year if we do this, if we revisit the list, he might end up higher.
If he keeps this up for a whole season, it's a different story, right? Yeah.
He's an interesting player, really is, because he's I don't know. I think in terms of physics, he looks pretty skinny and everything. So I don't know if he can take the entire season. He's never had an injury or anything, but I always look at this kind of stuff. But again with my number one pick, you'll be like, what are you talking about injuries? And you got this guy first. Hey, I'm not here to make sense. And then I put 5 and 6. I put 2 players level. And here's what I put. So both at number 5 then, or both at number 6, depends. I've got Booker and LaVine.
Gotta pick one, mate.
I gotta pick one.
Push you for a decision.
Fine. I put Booker at 6 then.
Okay.
Just because he's always there statistically, like he's always getting 20, 25, 30. But I think like having that 70-point game against the Celtics a few years ago, I think it was a bit of a disservice to him, where people were not expecting him to be that great offensive weapon. Like he will carry the team offensively and everything, and you will have to build your roster around him. And I don't know if that was a good thing for him to get that game at such a young age. A bit like what was that guy, that Bucks guy, that rookie that scored 50. Don't know if you remember that point guard.
Yeah.
God, Jennings.
Jennings. Brandon Jennings.
Brandon Jennings, like game 2, game 3, like he scores 55.
Yeah,
he beats
double nickel
record, and then bang, it just disappeared. So that it's like when you get to those sort of levels too early, and it's like you burn your wings and then bang, you disappear. So that's the same sort of thinking with Booker. And I'm like, and he's a great player. Like I love to watch him play. It's just he looks like literally peanut butter on the court. Like he just glides and he just take those smooth jumpers, and he's just like, I love watching him. But would I start a franchise with him? Would it be my first spot? I don't know if it'd be my first pick. I don't get it. Mike is confused.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I was thinking of getting him higher, but I was like, I don't know. I've not. Yep.
He's been playing well within himself this season.
Sure.
Like he'll just as easily have an 18-point game where the team wins as he will like have, I think he had like 35 yesterday or 30 yesterday, in a win over the Cavs where there was no Chris Paul. So he had to do more. He did more, got the win, happy days, and moved on. I think he's become very not only winning oriented, but just sort of, what can I do to win? And that's all I'm going to do. And Chris we Paul go from there. Yeah, he's just become so like almost systematic with the way that he plays the game. Shooting less threes. His percentage from 3 has gone down as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that he doesn't have to do as much with Chris Paul there, he's doing less. And I think when he needs to turn it on, he can just turn it on at the drop of the hat.
Just in terms of stats, though, because I'm just looking at his stats, and I was expecting him to, because right now he's averaging 23.5 per game, right? And I was thinking with Chris Paul around him and having such a good team player as a point guard next to him, and having to handle the ball less, I thought his point average would go up. So like the last couple of seasons,
he's a player that is going to score when he has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, but I thought we'd see a different side of him of getting maybe different types of baskets, right? Not having the ball as much, and maybe cutting to the basket, and maybe being a spot up shooter somewhere, that sort of. And I know he needs the ball to create stuff, so it's not. But you never know. Sometimes players when they're
fourth in the conference.
I know that, which is fine. But I'm just looking at you're right. In looking at it that way, yes, you're right. But I don't know. It seems to be to me like, how old is he now? By the way, I can't remember. He's still quite young, isn't he?
He's always going to look young. That's the problem.
He always look 18.
I didn't look at age. I tried to discount age, to be honest.
Got to build a.
And just
I think he's still. Isn't he like 25, something 26?
Something like that. Can be all around that.
Anyway, moving on from Devin. So I'm going to put obviously Zach LaVine on top of that, just because again I've seen a bunch of games from the Bulls, and he's improved. I don't think he's you think LaVine, again, I was saying before, it's like you think let's shoot everything that comes across my hands, including water bottles. But it's all just a crazy dunker, but it's not that. He's actually making good decisions and everything. So, but I don't know, again, it's still the stigma of Zach LaVine. I don't know. It's like Mike said, it's like, yeah, you say Zach LaVine, you go, yeah. So that's why it's only that. Only fifth, I guess. And then I went, Murray at fourth. Because again, he's a bit disappointing. Like you said, Dave, he's a bit disappointing this season. So, and I mean, the Nuggets overall are slightly disappointing, but we all know they'll make it to the playoffs. But I don't know, Murray is it's a bit of a weird one because he had those flashes, those hot takes during the playoffs, and he just played out of his skull. But since then, it's just cooled down.
And you said that it's disappointing, but like
it's the regular season
on his career average.
Yeah.
He's super inconsistent.
Yes.
That's
it.
But again, I put him fourth, so it's still quite it's still high. So if you take the other three in front of them, I'll still gladly go with Murray. It's not like I look at him and I go, no, move on. Who else you got? But I'm still thinking he's saving it for the playoffs. And that's why it matters, right?
Yeah, it does, but I don't like that. I do not like that, because then what happens if you can't flick the switch? What happens if you can't? If you're like you're playing this way all the way, so 72 games? Because the regular season is just a ramp up for the playoffs, but that's when you build your habits, right?
I think that's the thing. Like, he hasn't done enough to show us that he's got that. Like, easily he can flip it whenever he wants. It's like, yeah. I can understand what you're saying, but if you can I think
that in a way, Denver came into this season with almost making the finals last year with a massive superstar that is playing amazingly well. We're talking about Jokic. And the whole Denver organization probably thinks that that's enough. And it probably is enough, but it's not being enough right now. So Jamal Murray must be thinking, it's okay, I don't need to step it up right now. But he does. In order to win the game.
They were completely dead, physically dead at the end of the playoffs last year. Like, they couldn't put do you remember Murray was completely destroyed? It's like, I think he's saving himself. He's doing the opposite of what a lot of players are doing. But I think I always said, like, when you look at leagues and the playoff starts in June or whatever in the NBA, you want to be ready. You need to be physically ready, mentally ready to turn it on. April, that's when you start looking at players that are actually not on fire, but like playing well and they're stepping it up. So, like, obviously you don't go a full 72 or 82 games during the season just doing nothing or playing, taking it easy, and then suddenly 1st of June comes around and game one of the Eastern Conference starts. No one wants to do that, but you will program it. So you say, okay, around April you start stepping it up, and then you want to play. Or you want to play as it is, you'll be in the playoffs, right? And that's what I'm saying is you don't have to, like, now I don't expect any players to be, if LeBron is playing full gas now, you'd be saying, what are you doing? No, save it for April, May, and then you start playing a little bit, and then you want to be ready mentally, physically for June.
I think the problem is, one, he's never shown us consistency.
Yeah.
All right.
Right, he was consistently good in the bubble, and that's the only time we've seen him consistently play really, really well.
Like, LeBron's earned the right to do
whatever the fuck he wants. LeBron has been consistent for 15 years, so if he wants to take his foot off the gas, that's fine. And also, when LeBron takes his foot off the gas, he still puts up numbers. There's still a level of consistency that's way higher than anything we've seen from Murray.
And they have Anthony Davis and other players there, so the Lakers are going to win anyway. But what I think about Jamal Murray is, we say he's not consistent, but look at his numbers the last 3 seasons. He's his averages are the same or almost the same,
No.
right?
Right.
So
Right. So
we are
that's who he
saying,
is.
but we're saying he's not consistent. He actually is consistent. We're just
He's
expecting him.
Consistently inconsistent.
We're just expecting him to be better because we
Yeah.
saw him play at this amazing level in the bubble.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that we said about Booker. You know, since he scored 70, we expect him to score 50 each game. So since Mary played really well in the bubble, we expect, I think like let's give him another playoff. And let's see if he performs against, and then we can, say, yeah, he's consistent or not. Like he's playing the same way he played last season.
I mean,
Yeah.
statistically, like
And that's
2 years ago, he was 18 a game, almost 7 assists a game, and then last year it was 18 a game, 7 assists a game.
There you go.
And next season is 18 a game, 7 assists. It's the same stats over and
Right.
over again.
But
But,
then,
but those are surprising, no? Like he'll have games and the memorable games. He'll have like 35. He can put it up like any given night, it seems, but he doesn't. And it's why.
Maybe he's not trying really hard. Again, you have this big dude, that is scoring from everywhere this season as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's not, and maybe he doesn't feel like that. But I don't know that.
Right.
I don't know if it's he's choosing to do that or if he can't do that, and
Can we-
actually some
can we
people
get
just give him problems.
Can we get him on the phone? I think
McCall.
have his phone number.
Damaz,
He's only 23 though, so he's got a lot of room
Canada's
to improve.
finest.
There you go.
Yeah, but I mean,
But that's
If those are
makes
the
it more
numbers-
weird.
yeah, if those are the
Right.
numbers, if he's consistently an 18-7 guy, maybe we should just start acting like he's an 18-7 guy.
Okay, I tell you what, let's revisit after the playoffs. Let's
They
revisit
were
after the
asking,
playoffs. If he
they
does
were
the same
asking,
stuff,
is
in
it
the
his
playoffs.
team or Jokic's team in the playoffs?
Right.
Like that was a genuine question that was being
Right.
asked.
And it's nowhere near close, right?
It shouldn't be.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
It was both
But
their
anyway.
teams.
Anyway,
All right.
Tom, you are
Let's move
taking
on.
your time to get.
So sorry, yeah. Number 3, Mitchell, because I just love to watch him play. I think he's one sexy basketball player. That's it. And then I put Jaylen Brown, just because of the season he's having, and also because he, again, super young. How old do you think he is? Because he looks like a 35-year-old dude.
He looks old, yeah.
He's 23.
He's 24.
Yeah.
Just
Old
24.
man.
He looks like he tell you what, he plays like the team he's playing, like he like old school.
He belongs on the Celtics.
He belongs on the Celtics. I cannot picture Brown on any other team. So yeah, and everything he does, like I think we talked about it before. Like if you want him to play defense, he'll play defense. If you need him to score, like he's proving this season, he can score. He can handle the ball. He can do it all. So it's quite.
But you're starting your franchise with him. He's your number one pick.
That's why he's second, because I won't sell jerseys.
Criteria.
Who am I going to sell my advertising campaigns to? Like I need to sell that Pepsi, man. So it's like I'm not going to have Brown on it. But again, if I'm looking at just basketball and like if the types of player I want on my team, like every single coach in the NBA can do with the Brown, right? It's not someone that's going to create trouble, with the other team or the teammates, and so it's like you want somebody like that. It's like the Swiss Army knife almost. It's the type of guy, and that's the type of player I really like.
Yeah. And then
anyway,
you've gone for Beal.
Beal
number one.
Just because every time I watch the guy play, I'm just it's just like we were talking about. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's a basketball orgy.
And it's not new. It's not new. He's been playing really well for a long time now.
Yeah.
He's been handling the ball a lot more than expected. Like when I went through all the stats and stuff, as I said, he was tops in ISOs and pick and roll. He was actually lowest ranked in spot up points per possession on catch and shoot, which I thought was one of his strong suits when he played with Wall. But now it seems like he's on the ball so much that skill has deteriorated somewhat.
I mean, and his stats have increased every single year as well. He's showed progress on the offensive end. It's like 23, 22, and then 25, 30 games, and now 33 this season. Obviously, there's no John Wall, and he's had to carry that offense. I mean, the Wizards suck. They suck hard.
Really
but again, like, and the one thing I really liked from him is that, I don't know if it's BS or anything, but like when everybody's begging him to be traded, and he went, nah, I'm staying here even though we suck. But again, it can be for a number of reasons, as for example, money. But nah, come on. So for the
well, he's got the
basketball
contract now. He can be traded.
He can be traded, exactly. But I don't know, man. I thought that was pretty interesting that he said, "No, I want to stay and try and do something here." So I don't know if it's insanity or if he's being genuine.
He admires the Dirk ring, which never happens for anyone. So
yeah,
good luck to him.
Yeah, should come to the Knicks, really. Do with a guy like him. So anyway, Bradley Beal, just because he's a beautiful basketball player.
He's suffered enough. Why do you want him on the Knicks, man?
What do you mean? We up there. We're in the playoff race, okay? What else do you want from us?
Again, we said off before recording today, the Spurs are 5th, so anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Cool. Jose.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start from the top.
Okay.
Yeah. So number one, I have Bradley Beal number one. He's a player that he has proven himself, although not for long in the playoffs. Did he ever play? He played a couple of years in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Still performed, Should he even be on this? I mean, I feel like we're comparing this old guy experience with all these youngsters, but still, I mean, fair enough. They play the same position. So, 33 points per this season. That's really good, leading the league. So yeah, he's a player. I think it will be really interesting to see him play for another franchise and see how he handles himself around different style of playing, different players.
That's why he's on the list, by the way.
Yeah. I think it will be really, really, really interesting because, I mean, it's almost like this. When you play for a losing team, you get into this losing culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of surviving, and they have these great victories. Like last week, they beat the Nets, right? And it's almost as if you feed off those and then only live for those small big wins. But then you lose, 5-6 in a row, and unfortunately, that's a losing culture that this team has, and yeah, the Pistons are actually worse than them right now. But it'd be really good to see him in a winning franchise. On number 2, I have Donovan Mitchell. I think he's also proven himself. He's on a winning team. He's scoring than he used to, but we talked about him a couple of weeks ago, and I want to see his leadership. Right now that we know that in a winning team they're playing really well, he's not having to score all the points. Michael Conley is playing really well, so it's like it's like a well-oiled machine right now, the Jazz. So let's see if it lasts. But what's going to be interesting again is to see if he can actually act as a leader. So from that point of view, if I were the coach, I would want him on my team because I want him to show me that, and I think he can actually. That's why I have him on number 2. On number 3, I actually had Murray, but I changed it at the beginning of the episode because he's just very consistently average, right? Consistently mediocre, which actually is not mediocre at all. He's 18 points a game. It's not bad.
Good player,
But I have Brown on number 3, and for the reasons I mentioned earlier, like his personality. My top player ever, in my opinion, one of my idols is obviously Michael Jordan, but one of my idols is Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili had a career when in the NBA he could have started and be a superstar on any team, but he chose to stay in the Spurs and play out of the bench, right? I think Jaylen Brown would be doing that without complaining. He could easily. Again, I don't know the guy. I called him earlier, but he didn't pick up. But I think he could show that personality, and defensively probably the best in this list.
Yeah. For sure.
Then I have Mary on number 4. Again, the reasons I already stated. We'll see how he does in the playoffs again. I think let's give him the benefit. That's why he's in the middle of this. Devin Booker after him on number 5. I think that, as I said earlier, he's a scorer when he has the ball in his hand. 70% of the possessions. This season he's not doing it. He doesn't need to, which shows maturity, which is fine. His team is winning, but I wouldn't build a franchise around him, same as Tom said. Then I have LaVine. He just, I mean, I don't even know what's his motivation right now, Same thing, playing for a losing franchise all his career. He's shooting really well from 3. Amazing dunker, but right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think even he knows that that's
I mean,
appealing thing now.
It'd be great to see him play again for another team. Let's see what he can do on a winning team.
Yeah.
I mean, not even on a winning team. I know there were trade talks with the Knicks, and they were trying to get him to come over. But I was like, even as a Knicks fan, I was looking at it, I was like, again, as a Knicks fan, we shouldn't be picky about who wants to join, who wants to come, right? We lost that right a long time ago. But it's like, and I was thinking of if anyone would join us, like LaVine, it would be cool, but is that really a step forward? Is that something is that a step up from where we are? I don't really know. The guy,
it's just nothing.
And it is, but it's like it's again this whole I was talking about earlier, which is the whole image around him, the whole reputation thing, when it's like I don't know if I want to. Like, it would be cool for highlights and cool for maybe having a bigger name. Like, 'cause right now the biggest name on the Knicks is Randall and but it's like that, that's about it. And I wasn't excited when I heard that.
I know what can he add? What could he add to your franchise? What could he add to your team? Nice dunks, some 3-pointers.
But he's an efficient scorer. That's
efficient,
That's
Hands
what
down.
I think has come out of this research and stuff. Like, he's an efficient scorer. So you would go from someone who, like, your current 2 guard is RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
Do you not think the upgrade from RJ Barrett to Zach LaVine is enough to win some of these close games that the Knicks have lost? Right. And if you go from one to the other in the league as it is today, like where the Knicks are today, that's however many extra wins per season, which would almost pretty much definitely guarantee you a playoff slot this year.
But it doesn't translate. Like,
It doesn't
he might
exactly.
be an efficient scorer, but we've seen multiple seasons now where the Bulls are like amongst the worst teams in the league.
But that's on his team. And
but like, if he's such an efficient scorer, why aren't they winning more?
because he doesn't have enough good efficient scorers around him,
So,
or the team doesn't play good enough defense around him.
I mean,
And
the
that-
cast around him
I
has
don't know.
been very weak.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Consistently.
trying to sort of get to, sort of this argument where we blame, like, how can we simultaneously blame Zach LaVine for being on a losing team, but then not blame Bradley Beal for the Wizards losing,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
if
mean,
we're going to
I
blame
kind
them
of
for
do.
losing, can we not give credit to Booker for now winning? Right, because now he's got a team
Which I
around
do.
him where he can win. We haven't seen
Mike
your
did,
list.
yeah,
yet.
Mike
I'm not talking to you specifically. I just mean as people that watch basketball.
Yeah.
Like, we do tend to say, oh well, yeah, sure, LaVine's putting up 26, 27 per game, but he's losing games. So we need to keep that
It's-
same
it's-
energy for Beal. Beal, who missed out on the All-Star game last season because his team was winning. All he's done this season is score more points. And people are like, oh,
Right.
gotta be nailed on starter for the All-Star game because he's getting to the line 3 or 4 more times per game, right? They're losing even more games now.
Yeah.
Like last year, they were at least like I think they were in a playoff spot and slid out. They were like they were like 9th seed, I think, in the bubble or something.
They were
like
super
that.
close, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a time where the Wizards were good with Beal.
He had John Wall. He had better players around him. He had a better team.
Yeah, that might be true.
Yeah,
But this is like 1 or 2 seasons without.
Yeah,
and
I think it's just such a how can I say this, like a soft spot for these things, you know, like I don't know, like they're both on losing teams, you know. If I actually have them on my screen, you know, side by side right now, and LaVine is better in assists, rebounds, and 3-point shooting. Beal is better in, like, has higher percentages on scoring, obviously, and from the free throw line, but that's about it, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm not blaming either of them for their teams losing. I just think I'd rather have Bradley Beal than Zach LaVine. Right? Yeah. That's it.
I think you know what the Bradley Beal thing is, to me, is it comes down to the eye test thing. It's like I enjoy watching Bradley Beal.
Right.
I enjoy watching him a lot more than watching LaVine. I don't know. I love this more, like the body type and the way he carries himself on the court, like the way he dribbles, the way he shoots. Like to me, he's a beautiful basketball player to watch. Like regardless of stats and everything, winning stuff. Just in terms of like one of my favorite players to ever watch was Brendan Roy. Like you've seen how Brendan Roy, like he was so freaking clever. Like you can tell maybe he wasn't on the winning team, whatever, but like to watch him play was just
to me. They were a winning team, actually, and they were really, really good. Those Blazers was such an amazing team.
They were a really good team.
They were just haunted by injuries, because at one point you could have had Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Greg Oden playing at the same time. You know, if Oden wasn't injured, he might have had a fantastic career. But I just think, you know, and you know what you just said just made me think that I think that, you know, I rather Bradley Beal at this point of his career, I'd rather have him on my team than Zach LaVine. But again, Bradley Beal is more experienced and he's showed this maturity, and maybe LaVine will, you know, in 3 years from now we'll be saying the same thing about LaVine. Maybe LaVine will increase his shooting exponentially in the next couple of years, and we'll be saying the same things. You know, he was still playing for a bad team but scoring 33 instead of 27. I don't know.
I think so. I think I've kind of worked it out in my head what it is about it. Like LaVine went to the Bulls because he wanted his own team. He wanted to be the guy, and I just I can't.
I don't think he had much agency in the trade. He was traded there.
He was just traded, yeah.
But he was happy about it because he wanted to be the guy.
Right.
No, I thought it was well known that it was.
No, there was an interview of him saying, "Yeah, that could be my team."
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, it's for me. He seems like he wants to be the number one player in a team, and it just bothers me that I can't think of how you would set up a team with him as a number one to be winning. Like
the Suns.
Yeah. But I agree with Mike. This is exactly it. It's like it comes down to like you're the team owner, you're the coach. Like I would struggle to know how to use LaVine, whereas I would know how to use Bradley Beal. I think I would know how to, like, if I was the coach, I'd be like, I know where I want him to be. But like Zach LaVine, and again, maybe it's because I've not seen entire game with Zach LaVine in it, but I don't really know where he would fit in terms of how I would picture my team playing right now.
It's an eye test thing, so it's kind of hard to justify, I think.
Yeah.
Second in ISOs, third in pick and rolls, first in handoffs, first in cuts, and second in coming off screens.
But again,
however you want to play him, he can do it.
He can
however you want to play him, he can do it.
He that's two different approach in terms of basketball philosophy there. It's like you can look at the stats and say this dude is number one, number three, in the top 5 throughout the league, but then it might choke in the playoffs. It might not. It might not translate in terms of big ball times.
Which of these players are selling more T-shirts, more jerseys?
Man, who's gonna sell? Who's gonna move more jerseys?
Tom, where's the
Come on,
stats?
Dave, where are the stats?
1 sec. Putting up the phone. Talk about something else.
This probably is going to be Brown because he plays for the Celtics anyway.
Hell yeah.
All right, Mike, give us your list.
All right. I've got SGA at the bottom mainly because I think I haven't seen enough of him. If he keeps going, then he could easily work his way up there. No surprise, I've got LaVine number 6. Then I've got Murray number 4. That was quite a tough one because I do rate what he's done in the playoffs. So it's a bit tough. But it's just, can't rely on the guy. That's my biggest issue with him. Then I've got Brown coming in
at
4th.
4.
I'm a bit unsure because I don't know if the scoring is because the other defenses are distracted, and as I said, like, he's got a great coach. They know how to work systems, or if it's actually his individual talent. So again, like to see more of what he's got in there. Then number 3, I've got Beal. So then I've got Booker real high at number 2, and then Mitchell as number 1.
Wow.
So it's a bit contradictory to the rest of it.
A bit different.
No, that makes sense to me because he's, I guess having Booker that high, I don't know. But no, Mitchell's the most playoff proven in my opinion. Definitely. He's been the first option in the playoffs and won series as the first option in the playoffs, which I don't think the rest can say.
Yeah, the thing for me that makes those two guys stand out is that they basically got to their teams and the teams decided, okay, these are the pieces that we needed. We're going to build a team around them. So there's clearly something that the GMs can see in those guys that they go, right, you are at that sort of level. Booker, clearly it's not worked, but the Suns have been a terrible franchise. Like, I think he got there and he had like 15 point guards. It's not been a good look. And the fact that they're starting to turn it around now, and his role is evolving is quite interesting. And I hope that they can keep it up. But that'll be interesting to see. He needs to make the playoffs. Like, absolutely. And Mitchell, he's already done it and he's performed in the playoffs, so that's why I've got him number 1. And
Murray has, I guess, been the first option and won playoff series as the first option, but that was the bubble, and that's the only time we've seen him do it. I
just find him really frustrating because you watch these games and you're like, oh my god, he's incredible, like he can do everything. And then the next game, you're like, did he play? What the fuck happened? He when he's on, he's one of the best scorers in the league.
Yeah, it can be the best. Yeah.
Whereas some of these other guys, any given night, they're the best scorer in the league.
Dave, are you calculating the averages?
I'm gonna tot it up. Have you got our jersey sales?
I've got a jersey. I've got a top 15, but unfortunately, none of our guys is in that top 15.
No surprise there.
It feels slightly irrelevant, but I'm still gonna go through. I'm just buying you some time.
Do it. I like time.
Number 15, Ja Morant.
Oh, really?
15.
Okay.
That list is the most recent one, which is as of the end of October 2020.
Right. Does it say fuck 12 on the back?
No. 14th, Jokic. 13th, Russell Westbrook.
Still?
Number 12.
The Wizards version?
In the Rockets version, actually.
Right.
Number 12, Irving, the Nets version, obviously. 11th, surprise, Kemba Walker.
Oh,
Celtics, a lot of Celtics fans out there.
Yeah, I know. Top 10, let's go. Jimmy Butler, and at 10th. Number 9,
Wow.
Leonard as the Clippers.
The Miami
Dame
jerseys
Lillard's
are
number 8.
fire.
Yeah.
Like,
Dame Lillard's number 8. 7th is KD. Nets KD.
okay.
Steph Curry is 6th. Giannis is 5th. Surprising number 4 for me. Surprising number 4, which is Tatum.
It's not surprising at all.
It's surprising because again, any Celtics player to me is a bit, Number 3, AD, Anthony Davis.
Oh, all right.
Number 2, the GOAT.
Michael Jordan?
No, Doncic. And then number 1, LeBron James.
That makes sense.
Doncic being that high is.
Yeah, I think Doncic is.
Well,
That's
because everyone in Spain and Slovenia,
Anyone in
and
Europe.
China will buy it. Everybody in Europe is going to buy that.
Yeah, that's it. Same as Jokic.
I mean, I got one, so
Yeah.
Yeah, and then LeBron's LeBron, right?
LeBron on
which
the
is
Lakers was always going to be the number 1 seller for
100%.
the next 5 years.
I'm wondering if they're going to add the LeBron James Space Jam jersey or whatever that's
I'm
released.
pre-ordering that. Send me the link.
Yeah.
He said he wants that to open cinemas. Like when cinemas come back, he wants that to be the
Yeah,
The first big
I bet
film.
you do.
It's going to be
That's
on
not your
HBO Max, right?
HBO
It's going to be a
Max.
straight
Might have to
to
be.
DVD release.
Ah,
The
Imagine
one
the
the
pain.
one when you're queuing up in Sainsbury's or Tesco, it's right there by the till. 2 for 1. You know it is.
I hope not, man. It would be good to have like a
No,
good
no,
basketball
it'll
movie.
be-
can't
I agree.
wait to watch that movie, man.
Oh, dude, this is when we should plug the an upcoming special which
There
would
you
be
go.
like a
Movie
an
special.
episode on basketball movies, right?
We should do a poll and everything. Yeah.
not Not coming anytime soon.
No, it's not. But the regular season.
Isn't it like May or something like that?
Off season, man. Off season. Off season.
Dude, the regular season is boring. Let's just talk about movies instead. Basketball.
Remember, we're not supposed to say that.
Oh,
Created a whole other podcast.
sorry. Yeah, no, sorry. We get. Oh my god, crossover. Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got
Go
the
for it.
list. Let's get Tom the hell away from the microphone.
Please.
So, I realized all I had to do was give them whatever, do it from the lowest score is the best score.
There you go.
So, reverse totals. The 7th on the list was SGA. Do you know what I might do? I might just edit him out of the whole podcast and just act like we were just doing 6 people. I feel like it's a disservice to the young boy who's
It is.
a good player,
Yeah.
and I've just put him with these
Yeah.
lions. Number
Right.
6, the player who I think for some reason I now like because of this discussion, Zach LaVine.
Wow.
The new favorite player.
Yeah,
You want him on the
Just
Lakers?
because
that's it.
you're all
Underrated,
wrong.
mate. Yeah,
Get him on the
Go
Lakers.
wrong.
Get him on the Lakers.
get him on the Lakers, mate. It's over
Trade him
to
for
the
AD now.
league.
Yeah. AD out. Back to Chicago now. Hometown.
Ooh, don't let him hear you, Tom. Don't let him hear you. Number 5, Jamal Murray.
Yep.
Swap him with LaVine, I'm telling you. Swap him. See what happens. Number 4, Devin Booker.
Right.
Number 3, Jaylen Brown. Number 2, Donovan Mitchell. And number 1, Bradley Beal.
Damn
Happy
right.
with
Damn
Yes.
right.
Bradley
Beal
Beal.
needs to make a more recent playoff run for me.
Right.
As the
Oh,
number
that's fair
1
enough.
player.
This decade.
That would be good.
That sounds like something the LeBron haters would say. What has he done this decade? What has he done this decade?
What's he done? This 9th of February, right?
Ain't done shit this month. It's not done anything.
it done in the last 2 hours. Eh?
Wash, tap,
You
wash.
sold more jerseys than anybody else.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap things up there. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, review. If you're watching on YouTube, this is the time where I remind you, even though I should have done it at the start, to click the bell, hit the like button, press the subscribe button, hit the share button, share it on your social medias. We are at Grit and Grime Pod across all socials. And Tom, plug your podcast.
Again, dude.
Yeah,
Okay,
we do
fine.
all the time, man.
I will do it
All the time. We're part of a
Catching up
group
with
now.
the nerds. Catching up with the nerds. We are here every single week. Dave is now almost a regular. There's hashtag recast Tom because apparently I fucked up. So we cover we cover everything that is nerdy and everything you loved from the 80s, 90s, 2010s, 2020. You love video games, you love
Woo.
us. Yeah. That was it. Catching up with the nerds. Dave is there all the time.
Come on,
Don't know if
man. I'm
that's
the
a good
worst
thing.
part. Jose, plug your podcast.
Yeah, if you happen to speak Spanish, listen a Tres Puntas, my podcast. If you don't know Spanish, you can also listen to it, but you really want to know how to speak Spanish because you won't understand anything. So yeah, just follow it, listen to it if you want to. Yeah.
Mike, you got anything to plug?
No, man, I'm just surviving at the moment.
Plug your phone charger and go to bed.
Yeah, wear your mask. Plug COVID safety.
Yeah, damn right. Everybody, please stay the hell away from each other. Get vaccinated.
Cool. So I've been your host, David Sagoe. So from me, peace out. Thomas Arnal.
Frankie smokes for life. Bye.
Should have been on the list. Should have been on the list.
Should have been on the list. He was snubbed. Jose
Bye.
and Michael Downey.
See you guys.
Out of here. We're out of here.